The truth of our darkness powers. This is something that I've thought a lot about, and only recently has it kind of clicked for me. This video, to a certain extent, is a theory, but the information I'm about to share with you, it all comes from the written lore, and it's all very straightforward. So, in my opinion, this is on the line between being a theory and being something Bungie just hasn't made clear, possibly intentionally so. Although, if you've read anything to do with the collector's edition of Witch Queen, this has kind of made things a bit clearer. But I wrote this script before that, okay, so it's not me reading the Witch Queen stuff and then being like, oh guys, I have it. No, this was before that. Okay, back to the script, serious mode. If my take on this information is true, then over the last few years, Bungie may have been laying the groundwork for an important part of Lightfall and the final shape, and we just haven't seen it. And if my take is wrong, well hey, we still had fun discussing this, right? With all that being said, let's talk about the Guardians of the Light, and their connection to the darkness. If you haven't dug into the lore, you would think that our characters got their darkness powers in Beyond Light, when Stasis was introduced. By the end of this video, you'll at least be aware of the possibility that this wasn't the case. Before Beyond Light was even announced, there was talk in the community about us having darkness powers in the next expansion, or even D3 when we all thought that D3 was being developed. Now, this information mostly came from leaks and speculation, but this clearly showed that this was something the community wanted, and even from a lore perspective with the Dredgens and Drifters' shadiness, it was also clear that if darkness powers were introduced, there would be characters in the world that would jump at the opportunity to use them. So pre-Beyond Light, the stage is completely set for these powers to come in. You have dark-ish characters like Drifter and Eris, who can act as representations of in-world characters using the darkness. You have a potential source of these powers being present, that being of course the Black Fleet, and you have a large portion of the community that really likes the idea of darkness powers. And when you give people what they want, that means money. Shadowkeep was released, and of course the whole point of that story was the pyramid ships. The only thing we really learned from the campaign was that these things were really powerful, and I think that just made them even cooler. But when it came to story, the pyramids weren't the only big reveals to come with the expansion. When Garden of Salvation came out, some interesting information came out with it. Information that I feel went over a lot of people's heads. In case you're wondering, I'm on about the Cantarch 3. This story was contained in the raid gear descriptions and lore tabs. Now, I'm not gonna go over their whole story in this video, don't worry, but long story short, the fire team went to the Black Garden and they got new powers. The lore of the raid armor makes that very clear. What's also clear is that this power wasn't stasis, as indicated by Lisbon's description of what would happen if Rakana unleashed it on him. Stasis is a crowd control power. Apart from shattering someone who's frozen, stasis doesn't do that much damage compared to other subclasses. And it certainly doesn't burn anyone. As for how the fire team got these powers, it's implied that they were offered them, potentially by copies of themselves. Notice how the source of these powers consistently refer to themselves using plural pronouns. If you've seen the Eldritch theory or my video about Presage, you'll know why I think that's interesting. So we're in Season of the Undying, and already we have new powers introduced. This has established the fact that Guardians can 100% use other powers than the light subclasses we know of. Awesome. In Season of the Worthy, Trials of Osiris came out. Half-baked. The Trials gear had lore tabs. In the lore tab for The Scholar, we get to see a Guardian by the name of Sola use a quote-unquote hungering power to tear the light away from her victim so that she can get to the Umbral Center. Now, I'm not going to waste your time and read the whole thing out loud, but there is one line that in particular caught my attention. So, Sola's intent bit deeper, malleable claws that flexed against her prey's light. They probed through blood and muscle to an umbral center. It's within you too. The key word here is "to," and the key character here is the victim. You see, it's one thing to show a Dark Guardian being connected with dark powers, because you're just gonna assume that they got them from somewhere else. But you show a normal, goody two-shoes Guardian and connect them with dark powers, and you have my attention. This random Guardian, just attempting to navigate through Shotgun Nation, has to not only worry about the Fellwinters and the hackers, but the fact that they have dark powers as well. Memes aside, this is a big deal. This is a really big deal. What this lore tab suggests is that this Dark Guardian, Sola, has discovered that the source of the power she is calling on is within everyone. You. Me. We have this. This is before Stasis. This is during Season of the Unworthy. Now, something else that I think we should all be freaking out about is that this act of a Guardian going dark from this power in particular is not isolated. Sola, the example that we have of this type of Dark Guardian, first came to the spotlight in Season of the Worthy. By Season of Arrivals, at least 5 other Guardians had turned on the city in a similar fashion. This is only going to get worse. Season of the Undying has the Kentarch 3 getting new powers. These powers are given to them as gifts. In Season of the Worthy, it's revealed that every Guardian has this dark core inside of them. Finally, there's Beyond Light and Stasis, and it ties in with both of the previous examples. Stasis is also a gift. The pyramid on Europa didn't try and stop either Aramis or us from getting it, so that's how I'll look at it. It's the third time that I can think of when Guardians got powers from somewhere other than the Gardener or Winnower. Eris doesn't really count because she stopped being a Guardian after she received hers. This is where we get to the final piece of the puzzle. The Guardians and the Fallen both get Stasis on Europa. But the Fallen didn't really have Stasis, did they? Their capabilities were completely reliant on Praxis's technology. This is why it was so important when we defeated him specifically in Beyond Light, and it's also the only reason Aramis froze in the end. We didn't have this technology, and I doubt we needed it either, because this brings us to the final mission of Beyond Light. Aramis crushes the pyramid splinter and freezes us and our ghost. We have no technology, and we have no ghost, so we should be screwed. But no, that's not what happens at all. A glow radiates from our center, and we are able to free ourselves. So having reached the end of this video, and having seen these 3 examples of Guardians discovering or being gifted dark powers, the question still remains, what is the truth behind all of it? Well, I'll let Bungie tell you. Embrace the power within and unleash it upon the physical world. Every Guardian, from the moment they were brought to life, has had the darkness within them. Stasis was not us claiming the darkness. Stasis, Sola's power, Lisbon's power, and whatever we get in the next 2 expansions, they are simply subclasses to add to the core of darkness that we've had since the beginning. In Destiny 1, when you unlock the new subclasses from the Taken King, no one was like, oh wow, you just claimed the light. No. Your ghost didn't res you for the first time and say, congrats, you have the power of Solar. It was just the light. And you went out and claimed powers that were aspects of the light. It's the exact same thing with the darkness. Now, a question that I have is whether or not this core is exclusive to Guardians, or if it's within all of humanity. That would mean that theoretically any human could claim Stasis and the other subclasses and turn against the Traveler. Do I think Bungie has the guts to do something like that? No, but it would be pretty cool. The light is a gift. You cut off our connection to the Traveler and we lose our power. But Stasis? And whatever we get next? This is not a gift. This is our birthright. This is at our umbral center, who we are. This is the truth.